An Israeli battalion commander was asked how far his forces would go in Lebanon. His answer: wherever we're told. They say Beirut, we go to Beirut. Israeli troops have already crossed the Litani. They are approaching the Zaharani. Documents linked to Iran are being recovered from captured positions. This is no longer a border operation. It never really was. Israel's operations in southern Lebanon are entering a new phase, and one senior commander says his forces are prepared to go even further if ordered. As Israeli troops consolidate positions beyond the Litani River and push deeper into Hezbollah-held territory, commanders say the goal is not only to dismantle militant infrastructure, but also to create a wider security buffer for communities along Israel's northern border. In an interview with the Jerusalem Post, the commander of the Golani Brigade's 13th Battalion, identified only as Lieutenant Colonel M, said his forces are prepared for any mission, including advancing all the way to Beirut if ordered by Israel's military leadership.
Standing on Beaufort Ridge or Wadi Saluki, you can see the scale of the space we control. The public in Israel must understand this strategic shift. I didn't need to explain to the soldiers why we're entering. It's very clear. We're here to allow residents in the north to live in peace. Wherever we're told to go, we go. They say Beirut, we go to Beirut.
The commander's remarks come as Israeli forces continue operations in southern Lebanon following months of fighting with Hezbollah. Battalion 13, part of the Golani Brigade, has been heavily involved in some of the most intense combat. The battalion lost 52 soldiers and commanders during the October 7 attacks and subsequent fighting, and is now leading operations in the strategically important Wadi Saluki region. Since they were among the first to invade, M said, they encountered periodic Hezbollah resistance and engaged in close-range fighting. In total, 3 soldiers from his battalion were killed, while the IDF has killed around 50 Hezbollah fighters in the general area. Lieutenant Colonel M described the current Israeli strategy as fundamentally different from previous defensive approaches along the border.
In the past, we were positioned on the gates. Today, we move forward to prevent the enemy from raiding and firing mortars. There needs to be patience. This is guerrilla warfare. It's not going to be one operation and we are done. You cannot just attack one area and it is over. You need to act systematically. But we prevent attacks and invasions and penetrations into our northern civilian villages. That will not and cannot happen.
According to the commander, Israeli forces are now moving forward into Lebanese territory rather than remaining near border communities. He said the objective is to prevent Hezbollah from launching attacks, infiltrating Israeli territory, or firing mortars and rockets toward northern towns. The battalion recently completed an operation to take control of the Wadi Saluki area, while other Golani units simultaneously secured the Beaufort Castle region. M explained that his forces had spent weeks conducting temporary incursions into the area before finally receiving authorization to establish permanent control over key positions.
When we got the order that we can stay there and take over areas, our officers formulated our battle strategy and rules. Then we went out at night and penetrated through the Saluki area.
M credited Israeli air power, tanks, artillery units, and intelligence teams for helping clear the path before ground forces advanced. Israeli troops also discovered and destroyed weapons caches, tunnels, and military infrastructure. Among the materials recovered were documents, military maps, and strategic planning materials linked to Iran. One of the battalion's most difficult engagements occurred during what M described as face-to-face combat around a residential building. During the battle, Israeli soldier Tuvia Lifshitz was killed while attempting to assist wounded comrades after Hezbollah fighters opened fire. The commander acknowledged that Hezbollah's use of FPV drones remains a significant challenge.
Israeli forces initially entered Lebanon without being fully prepared for the evolving threat posed by such systems.
However, M noted that protective nets, specialized anti-drone equipment, and increased battlefield awareness have helped reduce their effectiveness. He added that more comprehensive solutions are still being developed. Meanwhile, Israeli forces have continued advancing beyond the Litani River and are now approaching the Zaharani River. Some defense officials believe pushing Hezbollah further north could significantly reduce the group's ability to threaten Israeli border communities with rockets, mortars, and anti-tank missiles. The commander said Israeli forces remain focused on preventing future attacks against communities near the border. For now, Battalion 13 is entering a period of rest and reorganization before returning to operations. But as fighting continues in southern Lebanon, commanders say their mission remains unchanged, preventing Hezbollah from threatening Israel's northern communities and maintaining pressure on the militant group's military infrastructure. Israel struck commanders, it hit weapons, but Hezbollah still stands. Because the money didn't stop. $50 million a month flowing from Iran, routed through global networks, keeping the system alive. This isn't just a war, it's a pipeline. So how do you defeat a group whose funding never runs dry? Despite Israel's military ravaging campaign that has killed some of Hezbollah's most senior commanders and degraded much of its arsenal, the group is still standing. And the reason, according to a Western intelligence report, is simple. The money has not stopped flowing. Analysts estimate Hezbollah currently needs around $50 million every single month. That covers salaries, weapons, and crucially welfare payments to the families of fighters who have been killed or wounded. It is that last part that keeps recruitment alive and loyalty intact. Since 2025 alone, the group is believed to have received close to $1 billion from Iran. The intelligence report is blunt about where that money originates.
Most of the Iranian budget stems from revenues of the Iranian state and security forces derived from oil sales primarily to China, and is transferred back through shadow banking mechanisms designed to circumvent sanctions.
In plain terms, Iranian oil goes to China. The money circles back through front companies in Hong Kong, the UAE, and Turkey, and then Lebanese businessmen move it the rest of the way to Hezbollah. The report names several individuals at the heart of this operation. One of the principal figures is a man identified only as Hassan K., who runs gold companies in Lebanon and Dubai. According to intelligence analysts, he has transferred hundreds of millions of dollars to Hezbollah through a Turkish exchange house, using a combination of air couriers and overland routes through Syria. That is notable because Syria's new authorities have been cracking down on Hezbollah activity since the fall of the Assad regime in December 2024. Yet parts of this pipeline, the report suggests, still run through the country, with a Syrian company and even the Syrian central bank reportedly facilitating transfers. Then there is Mohammed Noureddin, who heads an exchange house called Trade Point International. The US Treasury designated him back in 2016 for supporting Hezbollah. That same year, France arrested him on money laundering charges. He was released and returned to Lebanon. According to the analysts, he is still at it, now working alongside a Syrian exchange house called Al-Ansaf. A separate Western intelligence source told Euractiv that inside Iran, the most important financial operator is Abdallah Saifuddin, the brother of Hashem Saifuddin, Hezbollah's former number 2, who was killed in 2024. Abdallah oversees funding streams that stretch from Chinese state banking relationships all the way to drug trafficking revenues in South America, the United States, and Europe. What makes this particularly striking is that despite his role, Euractiv has learned that Saifuddin has at times served as a point of contact for European diplomats. In 2016, he met with Michael Claw Berchtold, then Germany's ambassador to Iran, and maintained regular contact with other EU representatives. At the center of Hezbollah's domestic financial structure is the Al-Qard Al-Hassan Association, a Hezbollah-run institution operating since 2007 and designated by the US Treasury that same year. It functions like a bank, pooling Iranian transfers with deposits from Shia communities in Lebanon and abroad, and then paying out salaries to Hezbollah's military wing while financing arms procurement. The intelligence report does not mince words about what this means for Lebanon.
The mere fact that AQAH continues to function gravely damages the Lebanese state and its reputation. It prevents the country's financial system from rehabilitating itself and from building a viable and effective framework.
The institution is now one of the central obstacles to Lebanon being removed from the Financial Action Task Force's grey list, which in turn is blocking billions in post-war reconstruction funding. And yet, the Lebanese government has so far declined to shut it down, stopping short even of declaring it an unauthorized entity. Turkey and the UAE have recently begun tightening scrutiny of financial transfers linked to Lebanon, and UAE authorities have arrested a network of gold and cash smugglers, allegedly working on Hezbollah's behalf. But the network, as this report makes clear, keeps finding new paths. The money for now keeps moving.